What we're going to do in today's session is I'm going to give an overview of the Moray School of Education and Sport. Sorry, I think I might have done, yeah. Introduction to the school, followed by an introduction to funding opportunities that we're aware of that we think might be useful to share with you. And Will's going to do lots of that. Then we're going to hear from some of our current scholars who are studying with us and have applied to scholarship, so they can tell you about their experiences with that. And that will be followed by a Q&A. After this session is finished, there'll be an opportunity to go into breakout rooms where you can listen to programme directors of 3 of the programmes that we offer in the school, speak specifically about their programmes, and you can ask them their questions and have that discussion. So this is an introduction to the school. Just to give you a bit of context, we're based in Scotland. Scotland is a country in the United Kingdom, north of England, and it's a very, very beautiful place. There are lots of mountains and lochs and lovely things to see. This picture is not taken anywhere near the part of Scotland where we are based, but I just wanted to give you a flavour of some of the views you could see. This is on the Isle of Skye. We are actually based in a city called Edinburgh. Now, as you can see, even from that picture, kind of skyline of Edinburgh, we have a beautiful castle in the centre and lots of really, really lovely architecture. What you can't see in this picture is how many amazing green spaces there are in the city. And we have a famous kind of mountain in the middle of the city called Arthur's Seat, but this is what we look like. Edinburgh is a really small, really friendly city. It's easy to walk around, easy to get bike hire, and easy to use public transport. It's considered one of the safest cities in the UK, and it's the UK's second greenest city. The whole city is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's also home to something called the Edinburgh Festival Fringe, which is the world's largest performing arts festival. And it's a really, August is a really exciting time to be in the city when that's taking place. Now, this is the University of Edinburgh. So we're a school within the university, but the whole University of Edinburgh is a very historic, very prestigious institution. We've been educating people for a very long time. We opened in 1583. We're ranked 22nd in the world overall, and we have a really wide range of innovative degree programs. We're historic, but we're also progressive, and we're looking into the future and how we can make change in the world. One example of that is that we've committed to going carbon neutral and zero waste by 2024. And finally, Moray School of Education and Sport. So this is the part of the University of Edinburgh that we sit in and that the education and sport programmes are offered in. We are in our own campus, but in a very central location. So we're very near to that other building that I just showed a picture of, but we have our own little section of the city that's just for us. And I mentioned lovely mountain in the middle of the city. That's right behind our campus. So this is what our school looks like. And we offer 1-year master's programmes across education, language education and sports. I'll go into more detail in a minute. And we're ranked first in Scotland for education and sports subjects. We have a specific institution dedicated just to language education, and we have a really warm, lovely community at the centre of in our own little city centre campus. Okay. So these are all of our programmes, and I can't go into detail about any of them right now, but I do just want to kind of give you a flavour of the types of programmes that we offer. Thanks, Will. There's a link there where you can get more detail about any of these, but generally they sit in 3 different areas. One is education, where we have comparative education, international development. That's one of the programmes we're featuring later, so you can go into a breakout room and get more detail about that specific programme. We have an MSc Education, which is a flagship programme that the school offers, which actually has specialisms within it across all different areas of education that you might be interested in. We have something called inclusive education, which in some places in the world might be known as kind of special education. And we have 2 programmes in outdoor education, which is about taking people into the outdoors and teaching them about the outdoors in an outdoor setting. And sustainability is one of the key components of one of those programmes. Within language education, we have 3 different programmes. One is TESOL, so teaching English. One is just more broadly language education, so it could be teaching English, but could be teaching any other language as well. And language and intercultural communication has a higher emphasis on that intercultural piece and interculturalism. Sorry, there's a lot to get through here. Sorry. So sport, we have another 5 programs. One is about dance science and education. We have one about performance psychology, which could be psychology of sports people, but could be also psychology of other like high performance areas. Physical activity for health is about getting people moving and knowing that in the world we need to get people moving more quickly for exercise for health. Sport policy management and international development. So Jay is here with us. He's the program director for that program, and we will be doing a feature about that program at the end as well, if you go into the breakout rooms. And finally, strength and conditioning. I'm very sorry, I did not mention the other program that we're going to be featuring, which is our language and intercultural communication. So those are the 3 you'll be able to see at the end. We offer 3 other programs that we offer by distance learning, but I've grayed them out a little bit here because they're not really, the funding opportunities we're talking about today are going to be really focused on our on-campus programs, so won't make as much sense for our distance learning programs, but we do also offer 3 of those, one in digital education, one in social justice and community action, and one in performance coaching and development, which is a brand new program for this year we're very excited about. Okay. So, lots of our programs, most of our programs run on a system called staged admissions. Now, what that means is that students apply in a kind of block. We then draw a line and say, right, all of those students who've applied, we assess them all together, and then we send out our offers, and then the next group of students to apply are assessed within a block, and then we send out their offers. It works like that. So in stages, we will assess applications. The deadlines are listed here, and they change. We've got 2 kind of sets of deadlines. So if you were to apply today, then, oh, we're on a deadline day. So if you were to apply tomorrow, we would be letting you know by the 28th of February whether or not we're offering you a place. If you apply today, we'd let you know by the 19th of December. If you're in the first group, and then the same principle applies to the second group. We can explain that further in the Q&A if I haven't been very clear there. Okay. So we're going to move on to the reason that everybody is here, which is to find out more about funding for international students. I'm going to start with the Moray House country scholarships. Now, these are quite specific, so I'll go into the details of who's eligible, but basically you're eligible to apply for a scholarship if you're a national and resident of an eligible country. More on that in a second. You're on track to obtain or have graduated already with something 2-1 equivalent, 2-1 or first. Now, information about what's equivalent to a 2-1 or a first from different countries is information that's on our website. And you have to be an offer holder in order to receive this scholarship. So the process is that you apply for a program with us, and then if you're successful and you're offered a place, then you can apply for the scholarship. The eligible countries are India, Japan, all of those countries within the Middle East that are listed there, all of the countries in Southeast Asia that are listed there, and the USA. So if you're a national and resident of those countries, then that's one of the criteria met for you that you could apply for this scholarship. The way that you apply, so after you've got an offer and then you're making your application, you're going to be asked to write a personal statement that shows that you meet the criteria of this question. This question will be written on your application form, and it probably will be a while until you're actually filling it in. But just to give you a sense of what you will be asked, this is what we will be looking for. Okay, so to show that you engage with your study and learning, and your qualification will make a contribution to society in areas including but not limited to all of those areas, and that you'll bring your knowledge, skills and experiences in a positive way to enhance learning experiences of other members of a diverse learning population at the university. Just gives you a sense of what we're going to be looking for at that point. Okay, so that's the Moray House Country Scholarships. I'm now going to hand over to Will to give you more details about the other scholarships we're talking about.
All right. Thanks, Anna, and it's good to see everybody. So I'll be going through some scholarships, not all scholarships. Some of these are covering multiple countries, some of these cover quite a number of countries, and then I'll mention a few just country-specific pieces. So apologize if these don't always fit for you, but it's good to kind of have an overview of the scholarships that are available. So I'm going to start with the Bate Trust scholarships. These are scholarships for individuals coming to study in Scotland. So I want to add sorry, give me a second. Let me add the link to each of these in our chat. So I'll be adding links to each of the scholarships I'm talking about in the chat so you have a chance to explore more. But I'll go over some of the basics. So Bate Trust scholarships are for nationals who will permanent residence, live, or intend to return to Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Malawi. So you need to have received, similar to what we talked about for the country scholarships, a first class distinction or a second class honors degree or equivalent at the undergraduate level. Different from here is that they do encourage work experience. So you will not be rejected outright if you don't have at least 2 years of work experience, but you're going to be much more competitive if you do. So, and part of the reason we put staged admissions in this presentation is because some of these scholarships require you to have a offer before you actually apply. So unlike Moray House Country Scholarships, because that is a school scholarship being provided by the school, where as soon as you've got an offer, then you apply directly to the school. Here, Bate Trust requires you to have an offer before you apply. Okay. So you want to make sure that if you're going to apply to this scholarship scheme, that you put your application in early enough to make sure you have an offer before the application deadline for Bate Trust scholarships. So as I just mentioned, the application process here is different. So before applying, you need to apply and receive an offer for a 1-year in-person PGT programs at a Bate partner university. So that's University of Edinburgh, in addition to some others. And the programs that Anna was covering, so those in education, sport, and language education are all 1-year postgraduate taught programs. So the online programs would not qualify for this, which is why we have this grayed out. Then once you have your offer, then you're going to submit an application and 3 references. So they require an academic, a character reference, and if you're applying with work experience, you need to have a work experience reference as well. Again, the online portal I've added to the chat, so you can take a look at that. The application, once you submit it, will include a CV, a personal statement, degree results, and some other basic information. And the deadline for this is February 19th, 2024. Okay, so you can think about what you're applying to. If, let's say, you were applying to one of those first round programs, okay, that were stage 1 program, and the deadline is today, and you're not able to get it done today, please basically let the admissions team know that you've applied or are planning on applying for this once you've applied for your program, okay, that you've got a scholarship deadline, that you need an offer by the 19th. As long as you're not going to them 3 weeks beforehand and you, let's say you just missed the original deadline by a week, then we can probably process you to make sure that you have your offer done before the scholarships. Okay, we have been able to push some of those through. It can't always happen, but obviously the earlier you do it, the better, and we'll try to process as many through to make sure you have opportunities to get to your funding. Okay, so that's Bate Trust. Before I get to the biggest scholarships that we're going to spend more time on, I also wanted to talk about a couple of other opportunities. So there are program-specific scholarships and country-specific scholarships. And I'm going to add all of these to our chat as well. I'm going to mention these briefly because it's likely that many of these don't fit for everybody. But the UK government has a MasterCard or Commonwealth Masters Scholarship. Okay, so this is done through the UK's Development Office, which means they're looking for individuals that are interested in studying in a development field. So you must be eligible from an eligible Commonwealth country, and I've got the websites up there. Please take a look at that. It's a large wealth of countries that have historically been connected with the UK, okay, a Commonwealth country. So you are expected to apply within and talk about one of the 6 themes that are offered in the Commonwealth Masters scholarships. The one that education best fits in is on access and inclusion. And so there are other themes on health and so forth, but most education programs are fitting in access and inclusion. Okay. So for Moray House, the best fitting programs in the Commonwealth Masters Scholarship, so if you're considering these, you might consider this scholarship opportunity, are the comparative education and international development and the sport management policy and international development. So again, those are 2 of the highlighted programs today. You have a chance to learn more about both of them. The deadline for this is coming up very soon. Okay, so if you're one of these 2 programs and you're from a Commonwealth country, I encourage you to apply. The deadline for the scholarship application is October 17th. So just next week. The process for this is a little different. Okay, so again, you don't need to have an offer for this before you apply because you can't get an offer before next week. Okay, so you would apply. You would later on demonstrate that you have an offer. And after you apply, you would also need to get support from a nominating agency. So those are usually country-specific agencies, and there's a list of them on the website that work with the UK government. And that agency then says, yes, we're supporting these people. Okay, so you put your application in first, and then I think you have until December to get support from your nominating agency. And then they process that application. They confirm that you have an offer, and the scholarship goes like that. There are some country-specific scholarships. Now you can see EXP deadline. So these are all expected deadlines. These are deadlines that are happening in the next year. And these are expected deadlines based off the deadline they had last year. So again, I have, at times I have last year's scholarship link in the chat. So you'd want to explore this further. But these are the ones that I would expect, given historical precedent, that they're going to run again this year. The first one is the Great Scholarship for those individuals coming from Mexico. We know that there is going to be one 10,000 pound scholarship coming to either individuals from Moray House or 2 other schools in this college. So it's going to be competitive across the schools, and it will be for individuals coming from Mexico. We have the Inglax Foundation Scholarship from individuals from India. That is a full tuition scholarship provided from that foundation. These are external, so not Moray House scholarships. It's pretty much all these are external now. There is the Canada Centennial Scholarship for individuals from Canada. This is 5,000 pounds towards tuition in Scotland or UK. There is the Connect North Korea Scholarship for those individuals from North Korea, and that's a full scholarship. And for individuals from Japan, there's a Takahashi and Howat Memorial Overseas Scholarship, and that's also for full tuition. Okay, so if you're from those countries and interested in it, they're all accepting education as a major, and so please take a look at the links that I've shared. Final opportunity is probably the biggest opportunity and the one that is applicable for most individuals in the room, which are our Achieving Scholarships. So again, this is another UK-based scholarship. If you've already been funded by the UK government to study in the UK, then you do not qualify for this. So, but if you've never received funding from the UK government, then you qualify as long as you meet the eligibility criteria. Okay, so there is, I just posted the achieving list up there. If you're from a achieving eligible country or territory, you'll hear from 2 of our achieving scholars in a second. I also know I also invited 2 other achieving scholars that I know that are from China to this list, so I know that China is also a achieving eligible country. You need to, in your application, apply to 3 different eligible courses. Then we'll talk about the timeline around this for a bit, but you need to apply and actually identify 3 eligible courses. You can't just apply to 1. Okay, so you need to apply to 3. You are required to have work experience here. So the Bait Trust Scholarship recommended it, but it didn't require it. Achieving scholarships require at least 2 years of work experience. They talk about this as the equivalent of 2,800 hours. Looks like that can be paid or unpaid, and there's ways online on their website to calculate, do you have enough work experience? Okay, the work experience needs to be there before you apply for the scholarship. Okay, so it's not acceptable for you to say, I've got 2 years of work experience by the time I start. You need to have 2 years of work experience before you apply for the scholarship. And you must plan to return to your country for a minimum of 2 years following your study. So, here, I don't know if you can see this very well, sorry. I tried to bold those that are already included. And then, so you can see, I believe, based on what I've seen here, is that comparative ed and international development, the MSc education, MSc inclusive education, MSc language education, MSc TESOL, and all of our sports programs are available for individuals applying to Achieving. We're working to extend those to other on-campus programs, but for next year, just those that are bolded are provided. And again, when you go to the website and you look at list of eligible courses, you'll type in the University of Edinburgh, you'll see Moray House, and you can click there and see all the courses that are eligible. Okay. So the application process, and our students that'll be sharing in a bit will know this much better than I do. So, but the online application is due in about a month. Okay. So it's due November 7th by noon, British Standard Time. That's a hard deadline, so make sure you know what time of the day that is for where you're located. If you're shortlisted, you'll be invited to an interview and to submit 2 references. Okay, so you'll do that after your initial application and supporting documents. And if you're successful following the interview, the results will be announced in June. And then an important piece here again, because we've had people miss this because they haven't had an unconditional scholarship. Somebody last year missed their achieving because they applied too late. Okay. So you need to have an unconditional offer in place from those 3 you applied to by July 11th. If you don't, then they're going to go to their waiting list. Okay, so make sure that you have applied early enough to get an offer, but also if you have conditions, make sure those conditions are met. So whether that's language conditions or degree conditions, those are the 2 most common. Okay, so I've got the link to the Achieving Scholars in the chat, but I'm excited to also have 2 Achieving Scholars with us today. So I've invited them to share about their experience and give any tips. They're both current students in the Masters in Comparative Ed and International Development program right now. So I'm going to invite Miten Katir and Colatina Halafonio to join us and unmute yourself. And if you guys want, there should be a take control button at the top, but if not, you can just tell me, please move the slide forward. So we'll start there with Miten.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Yeah, thank you, Will, and thank you, Anna, for inviting me and my good fellow Tina. And like Will said, I'm a Achieving Scholar this year. My name is Metin Çatar, and I'm a graduate of teaching at 19 Mayıs University in Turkey. And after that, I graduated from public administration at Anadolu University. And in 2021, also, I was a Fulbright Humphrey Fellow for 10 months in the US. And for the professional side, I have been working for the Minister of National Education of Turkey since 2012. Since I started working for the ministry, I have worked on bilateral educational relations with other countries, refugee education, mostly Syrian refugees, and their enrollment in our schools and integration to our education system. And also I have led some European funded education projects, mostly on refugee education. And before I came here, I was working on international organizations, our relationships with them, the Minister of National Education, and mostly the OECD. So yeah, as an introduction, I think that's that's it for me. So I think Tina can take over.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, good. So my name is Tina, and I'm a graduate of the University of Auckland in New Zealand, 2015. Actually a qualified teacher at the Ministry of Education in Tonga. In case you don't know, Tonga, it's an island in the South Pacific to the south of to the north of New Zealand. It's 3 hours from New Zealand, basically. So I worked there. I've been teaching for 5 years. I was part of the Tonga Youth Parliament. Also, I was a professional fellows for the PFP Oceania program to the US this year. I currently work as a senior qualification analyst in Tonga for our only qualification authority called Tonga National Qualification and Accreditation Board. So basically, I'm on study leave, and what I do in my work is we register, we analyze, we evaluate higher education qualification from higher education. So we register them to a framework in Tonga, basically similar, very much similar to the New Zealand and the Australian qualification authority. That's a bit about myself. I also have experience in mainly in higher education accreditation in Tonga and in the Pacific region in general. Thank you, Kata. Metin, I'd like you. You can take over with the next slide.
Yeah, thank you. And why did I choose the University of Edinburgh, and especially the program of comparative education and international development? First, while I was researching about the degree programs to apply for achieving scholarship, and I looked at the structure and content of the program, and it's really very diverse. It complements itself with international development side, the comparative education side, and the global governance. So it was very related to the work that I have been doing since I started working for the ministry. And like I said, it's interdisciplinary with all the different areas. And also it has a global perspective. As a person who deals with global issues, especially in the education sector within the ministry, so it really spoke to me. And like I said, it aligned with my career goals, and Will and other teaching staff. I looked at their working fields and their CVs. So yeah, I thought that I could learn from them and improve myself. And also, I was very interested in the placement based dissertation. In CEID, there is an implementation called placement based dissertation. Basically, while you are doing your dissertation, you are affiliated with an organization within the UK or outside the UK. So you work with them, you get hands-on experience working with them, and you design your dissertation based on that experience. So you get the research experience and the practical experience. I think that's very unique considering the other programs with similar scope. And as you know, and you are here, the University of Edinburgh is a very prestigious institution, both in the UK and around the world. So that's another reason. And also, I was very interested in the social and cultural uniqueness of Scotland. And I could have applied to universities in London or other big cities in the UK, but I thought that Scotland, especially Edinburgh, has a different kind of social and cultural environment that I would like to be a part of. And also, like Anna said, the city of Edinburgh is really beautiful and it's magical. So I think those are the reasons that I chose University of Edinburgh, and especially the comparative education and international development program. And maybe Tina could add more.
Thank you, Metin. I think you've covered most of the similar reasons as to why I chose the University of Edinburgh as well. But I just wanted to highlight that for me, one of the most attracting feature of CEID was actually the title itself. I was quite attracted by the title of the program, the qualification, comparative education and international development. Coming from a developing island, I didn't just want to be specialized in education alone, but so I wanted to gain more knowledge, experience in a more wider, in a more broader field, especially in international development and how we can be recognized as an island within a more global sense of recognition. So yeah, so I think that's one of the main reasons why I was really attracted to the program initially, because this was my first choice. We were given three choice as a Chevening scholar. So the University of Edinburgh was my first choice, mainly because all the things that Metin shared, and also because of the title of the program. I think it's quite unique because compared to other almost similar qualifications and program, they are mainly just education, and then we know with their specific field bracketed to the side. But with CEID, I think it's just, yeah, I really was interested in comparative education and international development. Yep. So I'll go on to discussing a brief explanation of the application process. I think Metin can also help out if there are some missing criteria in the slides. But so this is just a brief application process. So I think with the initial stage of if you are interested in applying to Chevening, one of the key things that's really important before applying is you do your research. I think it's very important. This is the crucial stage of the application process, and doing your research really helps a lot. So, researching about the UK university, the application processes. What are you interested in? Specifically with myself, CEID. I have to say that I did an intense research on the UK universities, and so University of Edinburgh became my top choice for the university that I wanted to apply to. Also, it's quite good to look at the research the courses, specifically the kind of courses that they offer. With CEID, with my initial impression, there was I I mean there were courses on policies, there were courses on curriculum, um, education equality, global education. So for me, this was very attracting because I feel like there's quite a broad um, there's a there's quite a broad field of learning that I can expand my knowledge on. So again, that's why CEID became my top chosen field for my UK courses. Also, in the initial stage, I think it's quite important for students as aspiring Shining scholars to also try to um, get your letters of recommendation, one from academic and one from a professional referee as well. I think because most of our professors, our CEOs, our bosses for our work, they're quite busy people. So I think it's good that you give them an email heads up on what you're interested in as well, and also the Chevening page. The Chevening page has a specific instruction for your referees. So I think it's really good that you look into it early during this stage. I know that it's not your referee can be due later during the interview stage, but it's good that you start looking into contacting and emailing your referees. Also, the English language proficiency. Specific. This is very specific for each university. The University of Edinburgh. They they also it's also available on their websites and the different programs on the English language proficiency that you need to have. The next is the application stage. I think this is what current applicants are still still in the process of doing. So basically, there are four application essays. So they focus on leadership, your leadership, your networking and influence, studying in the UK, and career plan. I think with the essays, basically one of the things I would recommend that you highlight is your community contribution, your leadership quality, um, also why the UK. You also had to ask why would you want to study in the UK. Also it's for the career plan. It's quite good to have a practical career plan, 5 years time, 10 years time. Things that are realistic and practical. And if you are successful, with your application stage, I think successful applicants are usually they get the results towards February, towards mid-February, and so if you're successful to make it to the interview stage, these are just some of the practical things that I believe that would help you. Um, you know, the application document that you submitted. Also, just having to add new examples when you're doing your interview. Formulate practice questions, practice with a friend, and also please check out the Shimning page as well. There are a lot of interview guides there, even on how to write your essays. I think the last thing is, just be yourself, confident, and be authentic when you write your essay, because basically, I think that it all comes down to how confident you are. I know how you know yourself, how you know what you want, how you know what you want to study, your interest, your aspirations. I think if you're good in all those things, yeah, you'll be pretty prepared to apply for shipping. For me, I think it was my first time applying for Shivning, and I have to share. I'd like to just highlight how the preparedness of your application. I'd have to tell you that even before I went to my interview, when I was shortlisted for the interview, even before I went to the interview, I knew I will get this scholarship because that's how prepared I was. And I think that's one of the key things in applying for Shivning, because it's quite a competitive scholarship and process. And I think prepared in the initial stage is quite crucial if you're looking to apply into Shivning. Yeah, Metin, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I can add something to the reference letters or recommendation letters. And I would suggest that you, when you are talking to your referees, just tell them to maybe, if they can write a personal reference letter instead of just stating that this person is that good and he or she works she hardworking or etc. Instead of that, giving some examples of your leadership skills or your initiatives or your take charge attitude, that would be better. While they are reviewing your application and at your interview stage. And actually, this is my second time that I got the Chivney Scholarship. Last year, I also been awarded, but with the personal and my job, because of some problems, I had to pass, and I applied this year again, and the bit persistent. And I think in the next slide we will be talking about more about those kinds of things. Yeah, our final advice would be start early as soon as possible, because you will have time until 7th of November, so less than a month. And there are some very heavy and thought-needing articles that you have to, essays you have to write in your application, and write your strong personal statement and put yourself in that statement, and also stress mutual benefits. The Chivning Scholarship is giving you a chance to study in the UK, but what are you offering? Both to the UK, to the university, to the program, to your fellow students, your classmates. Talk about the mutual benefit, or also to the benefit that you are going to provide for your country and UK, the relationship between the countries. And seek guidance from your colleagues, from your teachers, because a second eye can help you with your application, both at the essay process and also while you are preparing for the interviews. And like I said, be persistent. This is my second year that I applied. Even if you don't get selected for this year, you should apply for the next year and the next year. There are some Chivniers that won their award at their third or fourth try. So yeah, because you improve yourselves on the way through the years, so you will not be the same person next year. And like Tina said, be confident. If you're thinking about applying that scholarship, that means that you're confident in your qualifications and yourself. So reflect that in your application and make use of past Chivners blogs and YouTube channels. There are so many resources that you can rely on, either blogs or YouTube channels, and there are so many different articles and written things on the internet. Yeah. Tina?
I think that's about it. I think, yeah, I think that's about it. If anyone is interested in a more, the more specific, the more practical side of, the essays or the interview, I think that there's a lot of Shimna's blogs, YouTube channels. You can check it out. And also, I think the statistics that we received this year, the majority of the applicants that did not make it, that were ineligible, it was because they did not meet the 2 years work experience. So I think that's to consider that as well before applying, that you need to have at least a 2 years work experience with your first degree in order to apply for Shiming scholarship. Thanks, Martin.
Yeah, and last thing I can say that it's there are very subjective criteria, because they evaluate you based on your abilities and your leadership skills. So it's all comes down to you. There is no one fit for all that's a strategy that works on everybody. You have to read and, I don't know, study and prepare your application, but everything you do, you should base that on yourself and your accomplishments, your abilities, and your qualifications. Yes.
Excellent. So, Tina, thanks so much. Some really excellent advice here on cheapenings and kind of looking at programs, seeing how they match your interest. How do you research those programs? What's the application process? And how do you put a strong, genuine, authentic application together? Really appreciate that. We have about 10 minutes now for question and answer. So I'm going to ask you, if you've got questions, feel free to add them to the chat, or you can also raise your hand. At the top, you'll see a hand. You can click that, and happy to have questions there. They can be questions to me or Anna, or I would encourage you to take advantage of our students that are here. All right, first up, Fengjing Wong.
Yes. Hi,
Welcome.
Matsi and Tina. Oh, so can you hear me? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I have a question for Tina or Matsi. That so if actually I've finished my master's degree in Edinburgh Uni, and I'm considering applying for my second master degree in Edinburgh as well. So the question is, if I wanted to apply for the second master degree and also distributing scholarship at the same time, so my reference letters, may I use the same, or do I have to ask someone else to write in totally new reference letters for me? Yes.
So I can try to answer that, but if Mateen, do you have any ideas on?
Yeah, I'm not sure that you can use the same reference letters, because a reference letter dedicated for a program or the Chevening scholarship, they should be different, because they are covering different sides of your application. So you can get references from the same people, but that people should consider that you are applying to two different things. So maybe write two different reference letters. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you mean like you can ask for the same professor to write the reference letter, but the focus on the lectures, the focus could be different, should tailor to the program that I'm applying for, right?
I would say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as
Thank you.
well. I think also, like I mentioned before, in the Shivning website, there is a specific guide there for your referee. What I did is, you gotta copy that and just send it to your, because it gives them a very specific instruction on how to write your letter of reference. So I think, like what Metin has mentioned earlier as well, I think you will need another reference letter. It could be from the same person, but like I said, there is a specific guide on how to write that reference letter from the referee. because I think one of the things there was, they have to put this specific address for shifting. So I think it's great if you look at the Shimning website and copy that specific part about the referees and what they need to put in your reference letter and send it to your referees that you're thinking of. And like I said, it can be the same referee, but so yes.
Okay, thank you. And also, I have the second question is for Anna. So the list, the programs that you have listed on the slides, are they only those programs available to apply for Chickading scholarship, or for example, if I wanted to apply for the PGDE program, is it available to apply for that as well?
So I was talking about the country scholarships, and the PGD wouldn't be an option for the country scholarships. I don't think that Chevening would allow you to do the PGDEs. I don't think you could apply for Chevening for PGDEs. It was only those ones that were bolded in the slide that Will showed. So no, for country scholarships or for Chevening, PGD wouldn't be an option.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
That's correct. We've got one other question I'm going to ask him in a second, but yeah, so on Chevening, there's a list of currently accepted courses, and you can look at that. I believe PGDE is not one of them. And also, for those of you that are looking to pursue a second master's, again, that's possible with Chevening as long as your initial master's, especially master's in the UK, wasn't funded by the UK. Okay, so just clarification there. All right, our next question, I can't see the name, but 622, you had your hand up. Go ahead and unmute yourself. I can see you waving at me. Yep.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'm interested in the Chaplin scholarship. Well, this is the first time for me to apply the Chaplin scholarship, so I have a problem with my nationality. So is it okay to ask a question like this?
If you're comfortable with it, just remember that we're being recorded. So.
Okay. So
you can try.
Yeah, well, I'm holding the passport of China, but I currently live in Taiwan. So there's one requirement to meet, that is you have to return to the home country. So at least stay there for 2 years. So that would be a problem for me because I'm currently living in Taiwan and I'm not sure about the political problems of, and so I'm worried about this problem. So can anybody have such experience to answer the question? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. It's probably one that if there is concern, I would probably reach out to Chevening around that and how, what the parameters are of what they mean by return to country, and if they would consider you returning to Taiwan as meeting those requirements. So again, we've got the Chevening website up there, but I think that's probably so specific that you're probably going to want the accurate advice coming directly from them.
Okay, so which means I have to, maybe send more emails, or how we reach out the Chaplin officers, or how am I be sure that I can return to Taiwan, or I have to stay in China for another 2 years. So before applying for the scholarship, I want to be sure with that. So.
Yeah, what I might suggest, and I'll try to find the contact.
I've just put a contact us list in the chat from Chevening. Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm sorry, can you,
So in the chat is a contact us from Chevening. What I would suggest is that you email them,
okay,
or contact them, and you start your application. right? Because it takes a while to process. So I'd start your application, start thinking about the essay questions,
Yeah.
and have an email into them. They've got about a month to get back to you. So, but it would be much better if, you had an application that was ready to submit instead of them getting back to you and you have a week and you're kind of freaking out at that point. So I would start your application at the same time you're emailing them to get clarification.
Okay. Okay. I got you. Thank you.
Yep. All right.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
All right, Anna, you've got a question in the chat. All right, we have time for maybe one more question. Anybody else want to ask a question? Okay, excellent. Well, the final thing we're going to do today this is just the first part, because this was talking about funding for international students. I want to thank Mateen and Tina especially for sharing their experience with cheating. Hopefully you found this useful. There is a second part to this. We have 3 highlighted programs. Yeah. And so there are 3 programs. We've talked about them. I would encourage you to hang around and go to one, even if you haven't really thought about it. Maybe it's, you've gone through and you're like, okay, well, let me hang around and listen to something might be a little new, might be a little different as well. So we've got 3 programs. If you're interested in hearing more about MSc in Comparative Ed and International Development, I just saw one of the students that will be sharing on that, Mandy, join us. You're going to stay here. If you are interested in the sport management policy and international development, I know we had Jay here earlier. You're going to click on the first link I just added, the SMPID breakout room, link to the right.
So I'm just transferring to that room now, then you can join that room just now. See you soon then, some of you.
Excellent. Thanks, Jay. And if you are interested in the language and intercultural communication program, then you can click on the LIC breakout room link below. Okay. So we're going to stop the recording here. Thanks so much for those that were coming into the funding piece. And I do hope that you join one of these 3 programs and learn more about what they have to offer. They're all very unique programs that would be excited to hear from you and answer your questions. And again, the program directors have joined us for all 3 programs.